Welcome everyone. I just wanted to congratulate you to making this far. We're going to start promptly, and then Mustafa will take the stage. Today's subject is image meets matter. So he is an artist who takes an image and it ends up becomes a matter, something that you can also touch and see, and also experience in a different way. So I thought that was worth to talk, and then we will have an open conversation to build this trust between us, and then so we can openly talk and criticize each other's works as well, and also we can have start new conversations for future. So we can collaborate together. There's a lot of artists who came to the previous two meetings that they are maybe connected in a way, so they can produce something new, or they can come up with a new idea, basically. So this is the reason why we're doing this creative meetups, and this is the reason why we're here, basically. I'm a creative director and a photographer. I built this studio. I've been doing this almost 16, 20 years, photography. I mainly do editorial photography, and I do motion graphic videos as well. I do a little bit design, but not that much anymore. And I try to host this creative meetup. Today, Mustafa will be with us. If you want to introduce yourself, you can do it.
I can?
Yes, come on, let's do it.
I think I must as well.
No, there's no must, but of course.
Well, welcome. I mean, on this sort of Christmas days, you just made some time to come here. I'm Mustafa Boga. I'm from Turkey originally. I've been in the UK for nearly 19 years. I came as an au pair, and then 20 years of my search, or who I want to be, what I want to do in life, I landed on making art. And then happily I can say that I'm an artist, and kind of describes who I am as a person as well, which you're gonna see why what I ended up doing last 6-7 years.
Thank you. Yeah. So you're gonna meet with the one that you sit further in the room, and then you're gonna share what inspired you recently. It could be a song, artist, a dog on the street, a sun, whatever you want. I just want you to share ideas and then just start the first session. And then we're going to be listening from Mustafa, and I'm going to be telling you about vernacular photography a little bit.
To come here as an au pair, which was around 2006. And while I was doing some jobs here, I was going back and trying to finish my studies in Istanbul. And my passion was actually around that time was studying film. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to write my own scripts and all that stuff. So as soon as I graduated from journalism in Istanbul University, I got signed up with a university at Greenwich, doing master's degree in cinematography and post-production, which was a year course. And so that was the kind of beginning of my creative journey properly. Before that, it was all about doing odd jobs, trying to sort of what I'm gonna do as a journalist, which I didn't want to do. But while I was studying film, I met a lot of filmmakers, and I started doing my own sort of short films. I was also doing a lot of production. And after graduation, I started working with a production company, which I carried on for 5 years, doing all sorts of sort of interesting and odd jobs. But the difference between in the UK and Turkey, in Turkey, while you're doing your sort of while you're working for a production company, it kind of leads you to become a director if that's what you want. But here it's kind of divided. Working for a production company doesn't mean that you're going to be a film director, so you can be a production team member, what was happening to me. I really forgot my creative process. So I started doing my own individual sort of projects at the same time while I was working. I did a lot of short films, music videos, artist profiles, and all that stuff. So around this time, I met a lot of artists, and the way that I was making film was kind of dogma style, taking the camera and going out and shooting whatever and editing whatever. But I was kind of confused at that time. I wasn't really sure where it was going. But going to museums and meeting artists, making a lot of artist profiles, listening my friends, and everybody was telling me that I was more of an artist than, you know, a filmmaker who values production. So this was like around 2014, and I wrote a project, and I applied for Centre St. Martin's for a master degree, and luckily and surprisingly I got in, because when I was on the interview I was only able to show my films, and that wasn't, you know, kind of arty. It was more like, you know, things, basically moving images. But somehow they kind of believed in me and they offered me a place. And I ended up promising that I was going to do, like I was going to become a video artist and do mockumentary and that sort of stuff. But that 2 years, I did anything else than film. I did sort of included, you know, video art in my practice, and I became multidisciplinary. So I'm kind of like, that was the kind of like the beginning of discovering other mediums, you know, working on a project rather than just relying on, you know, moving images. That was 2 years, and again, like I tried so many different things like photography, performance, video, collage, digital art, kind of textile and printmaking. I was kind of like really trying to experiment and see where it can go. So bear in mind that I left home around like 2000, and now we're in like 2014. That's like 14 years of really trying to find out like who I am as a person, or what do I want to do in the future. And I think when I got in a place at Centre St. Martin's, I was like, I'm an artist. It was really difficult to say that I'm a filmmaker, because, or like a director. It's kind of give you a lot of responsibility that you wouldn't think. But as an artist, you can kind of like be in a larger umbrella, under larger umbrella. So I think that kind of confirmed who I wanted to become. But it was really difficult at this time to explain my family this whole journey, you know, a person who constantly searching for something to happen. So one of my first projects actually included them. And so that was also like me trying to understand the art world, the contemporary art, which I wasn't part of. I never draw anything. I never have a proper formal training and all that stuff. So, but how could I explain them what I was doing? So I set up a contemporary art scene in a photo studio on a plinth. I put objects from my hometown or from their daily life. And I invited my family members to sort of like observe these objects. And you can also see on the screen now, yeah. So I kind of like introduced them a contemporary art scene where a daily object is presented as an art piece, and I wanted to sort of ask them to guard it, and I photographed this series. And then this kind of like opened a lot of dialogues between me and them, and they kind of understood what art can be. I know that it's hard to sort of like see it that way, but that was my first introduction with them, and it really worked. Like they came back with sort of a lot of ideas after that. You know, everybody wanted to sort of, you know, suggest something. So, and I was like, you can't take my job now because it's mine, you know. So, so my background, like my ancestors come from Syria. So my family settled in Adana, and we speak Arabic as well. Unfortunately, I don't speak Arabic because, I mean, so many reasons. I can't explain it right now. But in 80s or 90s, the year, you know, my generation was born, kind of the family sort of didn't sort of like care to teach us Arabic. So although culturally I was really part of that rituals and religion and all that stuff, not being able to speak the language, I think it kind of took away that Arabic identity. Rituals and my upbringing and sort of like the daily life where I was born, I was always trying to sort of like run away from it, but through art I went back and kind of faced with all these sort of values and, you know, everything. So, so that's why in my practice there are a lot of like references to these elements of my family and my interaction with them, and I do use text in my work a lot, and I kind of like I had this like series of texts which I didn't know what to do with it. Is it going to be like a neon lights, or is it going to be like sewn? Is it going to be sculpture or whatever? But I kind of saw wreath, you know, çelenk in Turkish, and then sort of started to writing these texts on these sort of like banner, and then I kind of arranged these dried wreath and sort of placed them in rural area of Adana to sort of create a dialogue between me and the city and the politics of the country, basically. And probably wreaths are representing someone actually speaking, and the dialogue there is like, the most famous was like, are you still talking because I'm done? That's another kind of the text. But I also like during this time, I was working a lot with digital art, and I didn't know how to present them in sort of like physical forms, because I don't know why I wanted to sort of like the physical form of objects were more important for me than making video at that point, or like digital art. So I saw this guy sewing or quilting this duvet, and then I sort of like designed some drawings, and then I went sort of like, I started working with him, and I did this series, quilting series, and it kind of talks about like the politics of Turkey. You know, militarism is a big subject in Turkey, and we do mandatory duties and all that stuff. So, and how that kind of combined with the daily objects, you know, the practical objects of our life. So that was another project that I did after graduation, and then in 2021. I entered a competition in Istanbul. So when I applied for Centre St. Martin's, one of the projects that I really wanted to do was I was sort of like trying to find out who I was as a person, and not only as an idea, but also the physical aspect of being, you know, the body language, the way that we talk, the way that we present ourselves. This was always reflected back to me when I was growing up, maybe because of my, you know, femininity and my homosexuality and all that stuff was pointed out while I was growing up. So during this time, I was like, you know, as an adult, sometimes you still face with that. And I was kind of like, I really wanted to see it, like what other people sees in me that needed to be pointed out. So, and I couldn't see any evidence on photographs. So an idea occurred there, and I sort of thought of going through the video archive of the family of weddings. So I started sort of like going door to door, you know, all the family members asking their wedding videos or engagement parties or, you know, henna nights or circumcision ceremonies and all that stuff. And I applied for I entered a competition in Istanbul, and I got the first place for a production budget. And I did a project about that. But the one thing about this project, like how it started, that I always imagined a scene where I was wearing a white shirt, and I'm kind of dancing in the middle of a sort of a circle of family members at a wedding setting. So I kind of found almost 40 sort of like videos, and I kind of like imagine, like, has this scene happened? Is it a dream, or am I imagining it? And I search and search. I think that that was the sort of the image I was really wanted to find, and I got the budget. I was working on the project, and it didn't appear out of all these 40 videos. But then one family member called me like towards the end, they said, "Oh, I found these CDs. I'll send it to you from Cyprus," and they did it. And so this is the first image of like that. But then I found this image, me as a kid dancing and with these people. It's just like mind blowing to sort of suddenly, meet yourself for the first time in my life. Actually, I met myself, and I couldn't I can't express how precious it is, because like that's me now as well. I couldn't see the difference between that child and me, and it kind of kept coming, from and the funny thing, this is the installation I will explain in a bit. That's the result of that project. So one thing I kind of saw that I was never shy of a camera. As soon as I saw it, I mean, I don't know, in the UK, but in Turkey, the camera in a wedding setting would just go and try to capture everyone, and everyone would just don't film me. I was totally opposite of that. It's like, hey, film me. Hey, I'm here. I was just constantly trying to sort of communicate. Then I realized communicate with the future without actually knowing. So that was me really looking at the camera. It's film me. And then again, in different ages. It's constantly I'm hey, you see me, I see you. And it's just it's really interesting. I did this at that time and it was forgotten. I don't know it happened. But then as an artist, discovering that tells a lot about the process of trying to search. I was in search of myself and I met myself, which is really precious. And that was me again. This is a really interesting one because I was really short as a child, probably I still am. But I was constantly jumping to be filmed, in this video especially. And here I'm dancing with my sister. Again, the camera only sees my head. Little bit drink. So what I did with this project, so my idea was trying to sort of crop out all the scenes that I was appearing and maybe make a video collage out of that. But then watching 30 wedding videos and seeing myself constantly growing and witnessing that time is changing and the behaviors of people is changing and the way that the wedding culture is changing. So I decided to make a 15-channel video installation. And in each video, in each television screen, I kind of chronologized a wedding setting, but then I synchronized the similar scenes at the same time. So you can see while they're cutting a cake, you see 15 different bride and grooms cutting a cake. But then someone is dancing çiftetelli, a specific dance in Turkey, and I put the same people at the same time from different times. So you were also able to see me from the age of 5 and 7 and 12 and 17 or blah, blah, at the same time from different times. So that, and also you can also witness how time is changing, how we are recording things and how we, enjoy a wedding party and so on. It's almost this is kind of exceeds almost 40 years. Don't hear that, but that's the reality. So I think we have a little clip of the installation. Yeah.
So these are the original music.
Yeah. So you can see how the sound is changing, This is more probably 70s sound. So again, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Thank you. And so I kind of, like, the rituals are really a big part of what I do. I go and it's kind of like, you know, disappearing from our culture, like the language which I don't speak anymore. With that, we're also kind of forgetting other rituals, and the time's changing, and our world are changing. So, and there's one tradition. It's kind of really both interesting and sad. I don't know if you should carry it, but I know that as a child it really affected me, and I'm also like really interested in sort of like traditional images in art history, like mother and child, and the relationship about mother and child or father and child. And this ritual involves, you can see on this photo, the person who's holding that bagel is my mom's aunt. So there's a tradition in my hometown, which is not like nationally known or heard of, is that, so there's a national duty in Turkey. Every man has to do a military service when they turn 18. It used to be 18 months in the past. Now it kind of reduced to a year, I think, or maybe 6 months. It's kind of like a milder version of a service now, but in the past it was really affecting every household because, you know, people didn't return because of the, you know, war and everything else. So this tradition in my hometown is mother offering a bite from this bagel called simit, and then sends off the guy to the military duty, and then they hang this bagel at home until he returns. And this kind of symbolizes a person in that household, that a person is doing a military duty. So if they don't return, the simit always stays on the wall and symbolizes a martyr. And if they return with a prayer, they wet the simit and they kind of feed birds and kind of, you know, it's the final chapter of that ritual. So, and this really, like militarism and relationship with mother and child, you know, the last offering, you know, it's like Last Supper, you know, last bite, it really affected me. So I kind of did a performance. I was invited to a performance festival in Switzerland, and I, with my friend from the same city, Gülay, we baked simit, hundreds of them, and then we kind of offered people to have a bite, and then symbolically we hung it, and it became, you know, just like a talking point of these issues that we all face. And I think right now is more than any time that maybe we kind of lived. So these are my kind of like, you know, going back home projects and trying to sort of figure out, you know, who I am as a person, and, you know, my experiences as a childhood and how I kind of turned them into, you know, in my art practice. But something happened during COVID. Probably it happened to all of us. I picked up embroidery. So I was doing a lot of like projects with textile, and I was doing like simple stitches. And I wanted to develop something. And I borrowed a sewing machine from a friend. Another friend showed me how I could sort of like do little stitches. And I kind of started sort of experimenting with embroidery, and COVID happened. So I had a lot of time, and it kind of sort of like started with simple sort of drawings into more complex images. I will show you some of those because, I mean, as I said to you, like my work is really image-based, and those images, whether it comes in a moving form or as a performance or like the family archive or found images or things that I assemble. But always I think an image tells sort of a general story that I'm interested. So I will show you a video how I kind of make them. I think it makes more sense than for you to. So this is like one of the early portrait I did. Bear in mind that I never like trained as a sort of like a painter or drawer, and I never used a sewing machine before, but yeah. So this is how I make them. like I think it was the first video that I was really not video, the first work I was really proud of, in a way, because something, you know, suddenly a face emerged. You know, for me it was a big deal, and also I had a lot of accidents at the beginning, like, you know, a lot of DNA and blood in these works, guys. You know, when I'm a warrior, you know, I didn't do my military service, but you know, I bled for my art. Pardon? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, in the future, when they like, you know, there's a program, what is it called at BBC? Fake or Fortune? Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, like they're trying to find like real artworks if they're lost. So I think they can find my DNAs in these. So yeah, I mean, I did a lot of these experiments during COVID, and I like a portrait like that at that time took me like 10 days, and I did like 10 days of filming. I know it's like a 1-minute video, but something like that maybe I could finish in 2 days nowadays. So it's kind of like really evolved my career, and I was always like looking for different projects when I had multidisciplinary side of being an artist. But I always wanted a studio practice where when I don't do anything, you know, I just felt like I needed to do something, and I think this medium gave me that. So I'm kind of like half of my time is kind of I'm doing this sort of work. And this year, for the first time, I did a black and white version of a project. And I kind of like, I did a lot of art residencies. I work with different museums and institutions. So I kind of searched a lot of like burned houses, flea markets, and people who wanted to contribute with their, you know, images from their collections, or I kind of approached them to have something from their collection to sew. And then this series appeared. This is the first one. I think when I, like this, from this series, I think there are almost like 20 work. And this is the first one I did. I don't know who this person is. I found this image in Norway, but then his kind of like peace with the world and, you know, the distance from it kind of really touched me. So I kind of like from this point, I started like searching images like this, and I call this, I call this displayed memories. So this is the only one. Not only, I think this is like couple of there are a couple of family portraits as well. That child is me, that baby is me, and I'm holding an orange. And anybody knows my practice, orange is like very significant object, fruit in my practice, and I keep coming back to that because in Adana there are a lot of orange trees, and we had a lot of sort of like, you know, outdoor actions and, you know, plays. And so kind of like I do a lot of orange trees scenes. Like if you go to my website or Instagram, you will see a lot of them. But then, yeah, these sort of different scenes from Denmark and Norway. Some I don't even know where they come from, but they kind of, the landscape really speaks to them. So images like things from different times, and so you can see these sort of images. Again, I think this project is more about, like, it really fits into the subject today, Yeet, and I think from this point you can also take over. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. I think this is all, like, want to summarize about my practice and how we sort of like link it together.
Because
now.
like his last work is based mostly on vernacular photography, and then also his own archive in a sense. So like today's topic was like a little bit what's vernacular photography, which was like it's an amateur photography in a sense that like that your father does, you know, like when you were, you know, in your childhood. Every weekend photos, every holiday pictures that you have, like bunch of them, if they're like not made in a sense of, you know, like professional photography, it's vernacular photography. And then like it could nowadays it may become like more more in the eyes of the art world, it's becoming something. I mean, so, but I think like there's another thing like behind that. I made a whole speech about this, but I think I'm going to pass this because like the thing is like why the vernacular photography is important today, which is like you can say it's more intimate, and you can say it's more, you can see in the images of like negative, you know, like printed images or with analog images, there is more kind of a sense behind them when you took it or when you just watch it. It makes a little bit more difference than the digital imaging that we have today. And also it's very different than the old AI thing, which is like a nonsense now, but I love it anyways. It's a creative process, but it's a different thing. To consider it as a photography, it's a subject that we can talk. But we were chatting with Mustafa before, like, because I thought like, since his work also based on some chemicals. So the thing is like when you take a photograph, I think in 1997, there was like 2 artists in Berlin Biennale. They have been chosen with their photos. They have been chosen the best sculptures, but they were only taking photos. So the thing is, they were taking photos of the old what is this, water containers. Then they print them in a big size chemical prints. Since actually the chemical print is a kind of carving, what you do because you use light to carve the negative, the film, with the light, with the grains, and then it becomes actually there's a depth, and then that becomes like a black and white picture eventually. So then they decided, since they're like sculptures, because like they're from the different era, and then this work is almost like a gravure, you know, like it's like almost like a carving. So they gave them a best, you know, like sculpture award in the Biennale. So that changes how we describe the analog and digital world, because like the analog photography is more based to matter than the numbers. So when something's based on matter than the digital world, the numbers, that you can more relate to it, because every day in our lives, what we, you know, like face to face with, like we're not living on matrix. We're not like ones and zeros. So we're facing with each other. We're facing with matter all the time. We're feeling the garment, the thing. So when you can experience art in a way, that makes the change. I think the vernacular photography can relate to this a lot, because like this is coming from everybody has these photos in their albums and archives in their homes. So from the Victorian era, the family portraits, to an instant digital snapshots, we all have the vernacular photography, and it represents the most democratic and widespread form of an image making process in a sense in the human history, because like it's been a long time. I have a question to the room, because this is kind of a conversation piece. Do you keep a record of your personal history?
Yes.
How do you do? Do you want to tell us?
On my iPhone.
Okay.
Basically, I do visual diary. I don't put them on Instagram most of the time, but they're on my phone. And I just feel like, I need to remember this, take a photo.
Yeah.
I need to remember this, take a photo.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Do you share it with someone?
No, most of the time it's for me.
Particularly. I mean, if you think about that the photos that we talk about, like there's artists, you know, like they can salvage these photos maybe 100 years from now, and then they can become an artwork. I want you to just picture your family album in a sense that we all have, like, and there's always a particular photo that grasps your attention in there, which is like maybe out of focus something. Yeah. Maybe it's a very, you know, like wrong minute, and then your father just took the photo, or your mother just took the photo. You know, maybe your little sister would just hand on the camera and then take a very shitty picture of today. But that can remind you something else. So this could be a meaningful thing for you, but not for anybody else, unless an artist comes in and then takes it and change it to something meaningful, in a sense that you do actually.
I mean, yeah.
That was like one of the subjects that I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
I also agree with that. Like, so I used to take a lot of photographs before I was I called myself an artist. Now I kind of go back to that moment. What did I do in the past? And then their value has changed for me. Some of the, not in this series, but some of the things I kind of did take part in collages where it was just like a little holiday picture. But kind of like, it's really, while I was shifted, saw them change as well. So they has more art value for me now. But these were like holiday snaps in the past.
Yeah.
And like that image, like me as a kid, what did I remember that, like, I know it's a moving image, but did it really exist? And I think finding that kind of like confirmed that there's sort of a connection between now and when that event happened, whether it's a photograph or, I think maybe it's just finding and meeting again is important for that to have a value.
I mean, it's actually coming to my next question. Like, what draws you to certain images?
Oh, me?
Yeah, to you, okay. And then opening to the all room.
Aesthetically, what it tells, I mean, there's a feeling. My partner told me when he saw these images, he said that, but I mean, we can't see his legs, but their head is cropped. Like, the ships are on the bottom. It's like, and then suddenly I realized all the images are actually has something missing from the sort of like frame. So for me, I think maybe that some sort of aesthetic choice and the feeling comes with that aesthetic choice. Like, I mean, can we go back and because that, for example, the person is missing from this scene, but we know that it's there. It's kind of like mark making. And like this one, I'm a tree, it's called, and we don't see the face, but then the feeling comes with it. It's there. And also this one as well, and the ones it's kind of like below the,
Martin Parr says like something about this, like vernacular photography. The motivation isn't to produce art on vernacular photography. It's to produce a document that has purpose. And I suppose the purity of that purpose and the integrity, that is often the thing that makes these pictures even more alluring, he says. And then, like, more interestingly, more interesting than sometimes the art photography. I agree with that because, like, I think, like, when you try to do something, you may go away from the intention, the first intention, because like you're correcting all the time, and then this correction could end up making something like too correct, I mean, too fully, fulfilled, and everything is on the place. I'm going to tell you about this guy. I'm going to show you a couple of photos now, and just take a look at them, and tell me if you recognize anything strange with them. Any guess?
Action.
No. No.
No football.
What?
There's no ball.
There's no ball. Yes. This is the project of Eric Kessels. He took all these images. He found these old images from the archives of the games from maybe like 100 years ago. No. He's a designer. He removed. Probably you don't see it. He removed all the balls from the pitch. Yeah, there's no ball.
Okay.
So the thing is, he just erased the balls.
I can see where it was in some of them.
It may be because it's a very old project.
Or we can guess.
Or you can guess. Yeah, or you can guess. So the thing is, what he does is like he take this, very macho event of like playing football and thing related to different, and then he turns it kind of a ballet, like they're dancing in the mud, and then this piece is called actually the Dance in the Mud or something. So this guy is like doing this vernacular photography projects for like very long time. He's a designer. I just want to introduce him to you. He does this work, for example, these are the images in 24 hours posted in Flickr. So it's like 350,000 images. And this was 10 years ago. Can you imagine how many images are posted today. So he printed all of the images and put them in different locations, thousands of images, so you can swim on them, like, and then you can walk over this, and then you can see the pile of images. And then if you think about like how many images that we're sharing today, compared to this, like this was 10 years ago. This was nothing. Probably this will fill up the whole space now today if he does this project now. So he has like this kind of things. If you're interested in vernacular photography, he has several books, and then he is doing this for years and years now as a designer and as an artist. So the next part is I want to share like this is my personal archive. 15 years ago, almost 15, 16 years ago, my old uncle, I mean grand-uncle actually, he passed away. Then he was like, actually he was a collector, and then he was collecting very, very daily stuff, like very stupid stuff. I mean, for example, he was collecting keys. So he has almost like 900 keys around the keychain like this, and he has all the keys in the neighborhood. So if anybody lost a key in the neighborhood, they were basically coming to him instead of going to the key maker or something. So, and then in one of his like boxes that appeared, like there are like 72 like slides from US actually. And there was the date and there was a name. It was like the guy's name is Timothy, and I guess he has a pen pal. And then he sent these images over Turkey to Germany, from US to Turkey and then to Germany. And on the customs, they lost these images. And my uncle just got them. And then in every picture, he was just telling, this is my father, we are in Arizona, we are in somewhere. And these are just like vernacular photos. But the quality of these images were like enchanting for me. So I kept them for years and years. Just wanted to show you, because today's subject is vernacular photography. This is her sister, because he takes notes on every slide, basically. And then I think they were kind of a wealthy family. This is their house in 50s, if you can guess. Like this is him actually. This is Timothy. The last I found, I tried to reach this guy actually. He was in Kentucky, in a nursing home, and like it was like maybe 10 years ago. I couldn't reach them. I found his daughter. She says like, where did you get these photos? I said like, I just wanted to give them back to you if you want to do something. And he just blocked me in LinkedIn, strangely, I don't know why. So, but I think like there is always something hidden in this kind of images that we kept. So they went to New York with his father and mother maybe. So you're gonna see like, these are the pictures from 1957, New York. So there is no, like, none of the buildings are there. Basically, we know, this is Manhattan that you can see. This is like all the view, but almost half of the buildings are missing. That one is on the right is the UN building, which is next to towers. So this is actually the construction of the UN building. This is him and his family. Just wanted to show you these photographs because I want them to remind you your own, you know? We all have this. And I think these are precious in a way. Yeah, that was a Christmas dinner.
But you did really extensive search, like you found the inside of their house?
Yeah, I made a very big research actually because I just
feel creepy about it.
Yeah, because I want to give them back, you know, like give these images back to him because I think it's a very personal thing because he took a note about every photo on the next of the slide. It was a really tiny place to write in, and then he took a note and saying like this is that, and I guess like he has a pen pal. So I just wanted to find this guys, but he was like 95 years old. So I mean, it was like I even found their address from the images, and then I can see their houses. Today's actually, but these are amazing images. I mean, look at that. But the thing is, like, what makes it like very touchy for me? There's a shoulder here. You see that? I mean, these kind of details are really strange. I mean, look. Because probably his father and Timothy was sharing the same camera. I guess like half of the pictures are from his father and half of this from him. because he is on the pictures anyway, so somebody has to took it. But you can see, there's a guy changing his socks basically there. So I mean, like, this is, I mean, but I think this is really intimate. As you know, like Mustafa says, like it gets the feeling, you know, like you're so tired after this climbing that hill, and then you just take off your shoes, basically. But I mean, if I was a professional photographer, I will never put it here, you know, like this will be, and then it will lose something in a sense. So this was the second part, like how do we connect with our past? So after these images, I think like we all have, and I want you to talk, guys. I mean, like we talked enough. So if you have anything like to tell us about like how do you connect with your family albums, you know, how do you feel?
I just showed it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you dig the archives now, or like the flea markets about the photography, you can find a lot of printed. Yeah, even there's a big project. And also, like, I had a photographer friend back in Istanbul. He, in Istanbul actually, he found an album made for Hitler with all of the Nazi buildings in an architectural prints. And all the original prints were like silver gelatin prints. And he just paid like almost like 10 pounds or something. And he got this, he stole this actually from the guy. And he showed me like the pictures of, and I don't know how it ended up in that, you know, like flea market. But it was like a very strange project. Somebody basically go there in all architectural angles. They document it with the large format camera, film camera, and then they print it on the silver prints. And then they made an album, and then somehow it ended up in the flea market. I mean, this is like really strange things. So we can come up with a lot of strange photos. The thing about like, and also this is the one last thing, with the AI photography today, not photography, but AI imagery, we can say. Can you imagine like none of these images will go to the archives online, and then maybe he will not be fed, or it will not be fed from these images. So there will be zero mistakes on the images that created with AI, but it has its own mistakes in a sense. So maybe like from like a couple of 100 years from now on, we're going to see very different images created by AI using our archives in a sense, but with the missing point, with that kind of like the wrongdoings and the non-intentional photos. Maybe, I don't know, it's a question. We will all see it together. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for coming. The stage is yours. You can stay and talk and chat and meet. This is the meetup event, so let's have drinks. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. Cheers.